Most men in midlife are so busy providing, pushing, and proving that they never stop to ask the most important questions. Who am I becoming? What do I truly want? And what is it costing me to stay the same? Today's guest, Mike Flynn, knows exactly what it's like to tick all the boxes: career, family, house, holidays, and still feel something is missing. His redundancy became a turning point, sparking a journey into values, visions, and purpose that completely transformed his life. In this conversation, we'll explore the trap that keeps men stuck, why so many men resist asking for help, and how uncovering your values can become the compass for the rest of your life. And before we dive in, here at Midlife Mavericks, we've been building something I'm incredibly excited about. It's the Warrior to King framework. It's designed to help men in midlife step out of autopilot mode, reclaim their energy and purpose, and lead their lives with clarity and confidence. We're getting ready for a beta launch in September, and we're looking for men who are ready for real change to be a part of it. If that's you, well, drop me an email, stretch@tstmethod.com, and let's talk. All right, let's get into it. Here's my conversation with Mike Flynn. Mike, welcome to the Midlife Mavericks podcast. I'm happy to have you here.
Thank you, Stretch. Really looking forward to it.
I'm excited, mate. You're a fellow coach, and I know you've done a lot of work with your coaching and clients. And we're going to have an interesting conversation today about midlife. I think a lot of your clients are men in midlife as well. And we're going to dive into visions and values and a lot of great stuff that we do with our clients in coaching. But before we dive into that, I'm just curious, if you and I were to be boarding an airplane, where would that airplane be going? Do you have a favorite holiday destination, or is there a bucket list item you'd love to tick off?
There's a couple of places that I've jumped to mind when you say that. One is the first place is India, which I traveled to 25 years ago. And it was just mind-blowing experience. Like when I landed in Mumbai the first night, and just the noise, the smells, the whole energy of the place. Like I spent 6 weeks there at the time and traveled around a few places and loved it. But there's so much more to explore. I'd love to go back. And I guess the other place that I think about going is Japan, because it's just such a mix for me. The whole, I still love the old tradition, the samurai, shogun and stuff like that, the traditional values and way of living with the total ultra modern high tech. So I love that mix. So either of those places, I'd be happy if we jumped on a plane to go to.
Yeah, awesome, mate. I've been to Japan and India myself, and I love both. My Indian experience was actually there for a colleague's wedding. So we were there for a traditional Indian wedding. And one of the fondest memories I've got is on the way to the wedding, we're all piling in these cars. We're in traditional sort of Indian outfits, and we're heading to this Air Force base where the wedding's going to be. And we pull up about a kilometre away from this Air Force base at this petrol station. And this horse float arrives with this white horse that gets out. Anyway, the groom's going to ride this horse to the wedding. And he's got his family crown and his family sword, and he's riding this horse. And anyway, they've got this car that's got these big cables that come off it, and all the lights going down the street, and these guys are carrying these lights. And the horse is in front of the car, and then all of his guests are walking in front of the horse, and then there's a band playing music in front of that, walking down probably a 4 or 5 lane highway.
Wow.
And we're just dancing and singing on our way to this, on the way to this wedding. And that was just the start of the wedding, and it absolutely blew my mind. So I can relate with the experience and with India, and I'd love to get back there. There's so much more to see. If we were sitting on this airplane and, we sparked up a conversation and I asked you, like, what do you do in life and what's your mission right now? What would you say?
Yeah, it's taken a while to get there because I've been through different phases of life. But where I currently am at is my mission, I would say, is to empower people. And by people, I include myself through coaching and mindfulness to be the best version of themselves. I think it's key, that thing is to be the best version of themselves, not to be somebody else, but to be the best version of yourself, because you're there. It's just tapping into it.
Yeah, I love it, mate. I think as a coach, I resonate with that, and we're definitely here to help people find their own path. We're here to guide and support them, walk beside them, not lead them in a sort of sense.
Exactly, yeah.
You talk about different phases. You mentioned there in this phase. What was the phase before Mike became a coach?
Before I became a coach, I guess it's like talking about midlife, and I guess looking back and reflecting on it is kind of, I drifted through a lot of midlife from one responsibility to another. Like it was kind of like on the outside, it looked really great. Like I had the well paid job, the house, married, 2 kids, took the holidays and that. But just something felt, it's weird, something felt a bit off. And I was like, used to question myself, why don't I feel happier or more motivated, more inspired, and more fulfilled with what I have? And do you ever go, when you go away on holidays for a couple of weeks and you kind of think, there's more to life? And you think, I'm going to change when I get back. It's going to do something different. And then you get back and you get back into the normal routine of stuff again. And it just kind of, that flicker fades away again. Like, and I guess that's the way my life was going until, I guess the catalyst for change for me was I got redundancy. I was made redundant from my job about November 23. And the old Mike would have spiraled and panicked and thought, what am I going to do? I'm getting on. Like, how am I going to get another job, etc. But it was a kind of good timing because I'd signed up to train to be a coach just as a side interest. But that really became the catalyst for change for me, because when I it was a great training course, but when you train to be a coach, you really got to get to know yourself as well, and I did, and it kind of stuck with me. One thing going through the course that stuck with me was the saying, "If you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got." And it kind of made me stop and think, and it's like I'm waiting for life to change, but who's going to change this life? Like, and I got to take responsibility for it. And there's another thing that stuck with me as well. I think is a fellow compatriot of yours, Bronnie Ware, The Top Five Regrets of the Dying. Have you read that?
No, I can't say I have. No.
It's a brilliant book. I recommend it to anybody. She was an end of life carer who looked after people who had terminal illness and they knew they were dying. And the top regret of those people who were dying was, I wish I had lived a life. I wish I had the courage to live a life true to myself, not what the life others expected of me. And it's that kind of wake up call. And I thought, I really want to create the life that I want. But I thought, well, I never really stopped and thought, well, what is this magic life? What is this life that you want, like, and what's going to make it so perfect? And I thought, I don't really know. So that was the start of my journey into the next phase of my life, which I've totally enjoyed so far.
Yeah. I love what you just said there. And I think, a lot of men in midlife are going along ticking those check boxes that you were ticking as well. It's the successful job, it's the family, it's the car, it's the material things, it's the holidays, even, that you just keep ticking the box. And it can be hard to escape that. We find ourselves, a bit trapped, maybe financially trapped, maybe a fear of, what will I do if I was to quit this job? What other options do I have? But it's a nice reflection that you have there of, like, quoting that author, and, when we get to 80 and we look back on our life, what are the regrets going to be if we don't take action now? And we can put it off and say, I don't have enough time, or I've got too many responsibilities, and make all these excuses. But what's the reality? And yeah, no regrets when you get to 80. Like, if you don't take action now, it's certainly one of the things that, we're going to look back on and probably think, geez, I wish I had more curiosity, or I'd had the courage to step into that. What made you interested in coaching? Like, you're saying that it was just a side thing. What sparked that interest, do you think?
Well, yeah, it's gone back over the years. Like, I was a senior leader, and the thing that I really got a buzz out of was working with my team, seeing them develop, seeing them reach their full potential. It was just lovely to create that environment to let people grow, and it was lovely. And one thing I'm really proud of looking back is every time I left a role, one of my team stepped up into the role. So that kind of took that as a compliment, like it was leading in a proper way. But also, I had a few years before that as well. Done some mindfulness. I explored mindfulness as a way of dealing with stress at work. Mindfulness-based stress reduction, a John Kabat-Zinn course, and I loved it so much that I would train to be a teacher as well, a facilitator in that as well. And it was just that whole, and years even before that, I'd explored counseling and I had done an introductory to counseling course, and wasn't quite what I wanted, like, but the coaching really floated my boat, because the counseling is kind of looking back and exploring the past and the trauma and digging in. But what I like about coaching, you acknowledge the past, but it's, what are you going to do now? This is where you're at now, living in the moment. This is what's available to you now. What do you want to do? What do you want to achieve? And it that taps into my mission as well. It's like, I really get a buzz out of seeing people achieve their full potential. That includes myself as well. And it's not just in a work environment, it's seeing family and friends as well. I just really love that.
That's great. I sense like a love of learning there, that you're really interested in learning all these things in terms of like the coaching, the mindfulness. But I also sense like a strength of great kindness. Like, you really want to be there to help people, your colleagues that you're working with, obviously, and now the clients and stuff that you're helping out, which is yeah, awesome to hear, Mike. So when you started stepping into coaching, what sort of things started to come up for you, or what sort of realizations did you get as you walked through that journey?
When I trained to be the coach, I said the thing that came up for me is like that trigger was like, what kind of life do you actually want yourself? And I thought, because and there's all aspects of coaching. There's a career coaching, executive coaching, life coaching, etc. You can everything. There's coaching all over the place. But the one thing that really kind of resonated with me was going back to the core. It's like that life you want to. What life do you want to create? And for me, that was like looking at my personal values, my personal core values, and that can mean different things to different people. But for me, it means what are the attributes of the person you aspire to be, not what you are now, but and there's loads of values online. You can Google and you get loads of values. And the words don't matter so much. It's how you describe it. So compassion to me will mean something different to you than to you and etc. But it's what it means to me, because it's that core value, because it's like I love the it's really brilliant area to work in, because when you identify your core values, it's not so much more about making right or wrong decisions. I love it now. I just look, does it take me towards my values or away from my values? And it's not somebody else's values. It's not society's values. It's not my parents' values. It's what is important to me in life. And that kind of led on then to life purpose. And life purpose sounds really grand, but it's not. It's just what you want to do with your life, what impact you want to have. Like, and it's really working that, and it's linking in with, and how aligned is it with your values. And then vision, life vision, again, sounds grand, but it's not. It's like, what do you envision your ideal life to be if you're living aligned fully with your purpose and your values? Now that all sounds very grand, but it's not. It's just, you always, you probably aware, is that everybody has the answer within themselves. It's just taking the time to look within. And that's the really key thing for me, I learned as well. It's an internal job. I was looking externally, to the job, to the holidays, to the cars, to everything else, to get that buzz. But really, it's the power, and that's really liberating when you know it's an internal job. It doesn't matter what's happening on the outside; it's how you feel internally. So that was really liberating. But that's all very high level, and it's motivating and inspiring. But the rubber hits the road when you turn those vision and purpose and values into goals and action plans, and that's where you decide what areas of your life. For me, was deciding what areas of your life are important, like the wheel of life. And for me, it's like family, friends, health, etc. And deciding what are the goals I want to achieve in those areas and what are the action plans. So it gives you a clear, and the beauty of it working this way around is, instead of just setting goals in isolation, they're totally aligned with your values, with your vision and your purpose. So that really worked for me, and that kind of led me on to develop the program that I did for Midlife Men: Ignite Your Purpose, Create the Life You Truly Desire.
There's a lot to unpack in what you just said, Mike, and I love your enthusiasm and your energy there. I'm just curious, like for you, before you did this coaching and you started to, really do the inner work and uncover like who is Mike and what does Mike want in life. Before that, had you ever stopped to think about what are my values, what are my visions, what's my purpose in life?
To be honest, no. I kind of it sounds weird, but it's like living, and the only way to describe it, like living life in automatic pilot. Like you're just going through life, and it's like, because you kind of like growing up in Ireland in the 80s, and that the key thing was get a job, and if you got a job, hold on to a job, and get the house, and get married, and get kids. And there was no like kind of figure out, well, what do you really, really want? Like, and it sounds a bit navel gazing, but it's really, really powerful. But then again, I suppose there was always that nagging voice that there's more to it than that, because I struggled a bit with mental health throughout life, with anxiety and depression. And I don't know how much of that was linked to just not doing what I wanted to, or something nagging at me in terms of that. And that's why I got into the mindfulness. So there was always a kind of nagging. Also, there's something more, but it really kind of hit me in midlife, I guess, because I was in a stage, and I always think it's really interesting with midlife, because you've kind of, you talk purpose, vision, and values to younger people, and I'm not saying I think it's relevant for everybody, but when you're a little bit battle scarred of your experience of life, I think you've got more to work with.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I was just curious because I was the same as you until I stepped into like really into more sort of health coaching and starting to look at that and going through a course that was talking about all this sort of stuff. I was just like, wow, why have I never stopped to think about this before? Like, yeah, I've had goals, I've had ambitions, I've set myself, training goals or career goals, maybe financial goals, and had all these sort of goals that I threw down. But I'd never really stopped to think about where it's taking me or what's the vision, what's the future, and never really put it in terms of like values, it's not that I didn't have values, it's just that I didn't really know what those values were. And when I reflect back on it now, knowing my values and see the path that I took, it's sort of aligned, but it sort of didn't. And I think, it's once you know what those values are, it can really help. Like you mentioned before, it just helps you make better decisions, because if it doesn't align with the values you've got, then it's not the path you should go down. I like what you said there about, or I would like to dig a little bit more, because you talk about anxiety and maybe mental health that you struggled with at a younger age and going through your life. Do you feel that maybe because you were out of alignment, in the sense of like you weren't living your values, or you weren't sort of setting that vision, that sort of maybe created some of that emotion you were feeling and some of that, that struggle you were going through?
It's really hard. It's really hard because I've wondered about that as well, Straight. It's like first I experienced of anxiety or depression was when I was 12. Like, so it's changed from went from primary school to big school, if you want to call it. But at different stages in life, it hit me. Like, I don't know if I could say out of alignment, but it kind of came more. It definitely kind of impacted me more through midlife, and that was, and probably it would that to being misaligned, because I kept thinking, like, I was working long hours, giving a lot to work. And I just kind of felt if I ever stopped, I thought it's something different. I thought, no, just plow on, just work hard to you'll get through this. You just got to toughen up and get on with it and that and build. And the mindfulness was, in a way, was using it wrong. I was using it to build resilience, but I kept repeating the same mistake. It kind of like, if I kind of struggled and went down a little bit, I kind of hunkered down, got better again, and then back into the game again. And it's like that definition of insanity. If you what it is, its definition of insanity is keep doing the same thing over and over again and expect a different outcome. And it was meant. That's why I would urge anybody: just pause, stop, take a breath, listen to yourself. Your intuition is telling you something. Listen to your inner self. There is something. Don't ignore it. Just take some time on it.
It's powerful, mate, because I think, stoic masculinity tells us as men to keep pushing, to keep striving, to work harder, to do more, to not complain, to bury our emotions. And it sounds like, you're pushing on that a little bit and you're sort of exploring that, but yet continuing to make the same mistake, going back to that busy job, that stressful job, burning out, until, maybe the redundancy. Was that the turning point, do you feel, that sort of gave you the space to stop and take a breath and slow down?
It is. It's mad. It's a really good thing that happened to me, because it's like I was looking to do the coaching, and I really my ideal at the time was to think of a portfolio career, do some marketing and fundraising, and but do some coaching. But again, that was going to be a lot more stress and strain on the job as well. But it was like that. It sounds mad, but like, to be fair, like, given the breathing space with redundancy, it gave me a bit of breathing space financially to take that time out as well to reflect and do so. And it's making the most of that opportunity. Whereas before, I would have said, "Well, okay, that's money, put it in the bank for future and get into the next job." Like, so that gave me the space. And the coaching program at the time tied in lovely with it. Like, and it was like, because I said, like, going through that program yourself, as you said, like, you kind of find out in yourself, because I've never thought about this before. And if I'm going to work with other people, I need to know myself as well. I need to know what I'm about, like that, because you got to walk the walk as well.
Yeah, 100%, mate. I'm curious, what are Mike's values?
Well, it's interesting you say that, because then if I look at, one of the things about my values is as well, it's like, it's okay coming up with the values, but if you park it then and go away from it, it's no good. You got to live each day. Like, so part of my morning routine is I remind myself of my values every day. And if I look to my left now, I have printed and framed, and I'm not going to take a chance to remember them all, but I've printed and framed my values of what my personal core values. For a first personal value is self-care. And for description for me is, it's not just self-care for the sake, but it's to enable me to live life with full energy and vitality each day. So self-care could mean something different to you, like that. My second value is, and I've kind of ranked them over time if I use them, is gratitude. Third one is authenticity, connection, compassion, a growth mindset. And one that I've added recently is self-discipline, because it's like interesting. You can have the goals and that, but it's proactively manage my behaviors, feelings, and emotions to achieve my goals, even when faced with immediate temptation, because there is that always temptation. Don't do this today. Take a day off, take a break. And then my wife laughs about this one. She said, like, that's a weird value to have. It's fun to tap into this side of myself. Well, I said, "Well, maybe I'm not the most fun guy, but it's just something I aspire to be." And then it's like creative and playful. And that's the approach and everything with a beginner's mind, because I love that saying. I've not just come across it. In the beginner's mind, there are many possibilities. In the expert's mind, there are few. If you turn up knowing And that's what the challenge is at work, any part of life. If you turn up thinking, I have the answers, you miss out on the opportunity. Like, act more like a child with that childlike wonder and curiosity. You've got young kids, I think, right? When you look at them, what they can get so immersed in something. Like my young son, when he was younger, he used to play Lego, and I was like, he used to get into it, and I was like, wow. So it's just that
They,
playful curiosity to life.
yeah, they are the best teachers, mate. I think having a
Oh,
young
yeah.
daughter has taught me to slow down, has taught me to be more present. You have to meet them where they're at. And you just can't be go, go, go and stuck in that mindset, because it just doesn't help you and it doesn't help them. So I think there's so much we can learn from our young children. And it's magic to hear you say that. I think, that growth mindset is so powerful. A lot of us like to think we have a growth mindset, but we can be very fixed in our ways. I think men, especially, we're very stubborn. We don't like to admit that we need help. We like to believe that we can solve everything and we have the answer to everything. I think that's, and you and I were talking a little bit before the show about, it can sometimes be hard to get men to step into something like coaching because of the walls that they put up, or the fear that maybe if I'm going to coaching, I'm broken, or that says something wrong with me. So it's definitely a challenge to sort of break through and get men that have that growth mindset and are willing to step into the arena and do the inner work and some of the hard work that's not typically masculine, but yet can be so transformative, especially at this point in their life. I'm curious. Like, you've named a list of values there, and it's awesome. I like the way you've made them your own. You've added more than just a list of words. What was the exercise, or how do you go about uncovering your values?
Yeah, no, it's good because yeah, it just randomly, it doesn't randomly plucked out of air. But it's like the exercise that I went through was, and I'm happy to share. I'll say share in some stuff afterwards as well, some information, because if
Mm.
any of your listeners want to go through the same process, but it's identifying. First of all, you can look at a list online to give you some starters for 10, but really it's got to be core to you. It's got to feel real to you. And to me, it's a few different exercises, looking back, and it's again bringing the mindfulness in and just taking some time out and just reflecting back on your life. And when you were in a peak state, when things were really flowing for you, when things were really good, and life was buzzy, what values were you tapping into? What was it that was really making you alive? What were you doing? What were you feeling? What were you thinking? And what were the values associated with that? And then likewise, it's looking at when you're feeling stressed or frustrated or that, and things were really jarring. It just felt off life. What were the values that you felt were being suppressed? What were you compromising on that? And just make a list of those. And then it's looking at as also as well as your code of conduct. How do you want to live your life? What really important to you? Who do you admire in that? What sort of values? So it's again getting ideas from them. And then it's also just looking back on, if you've got that 80-year-old person looking back on your life, what would the legacy, what kind of values would you like to have role modeled? Now you can get a whole list of them, but the idea, the magic number to say is between, for personal values, is between 5 and 10. So it's kind of sitting with them for a while as well, chunking them into groups in terms of that. But the key thing is to sit with them, go away from it, sleep on it, come back to it, reflect on it. Does it feel right to you? Is it your value, or is it somebody else's value that you're coming with? And
Mm.
once you align it, once you come up with the words that do it, you got to attach the emotion. It's like that's what I say about the description, what it means to you. Because otherwise you just say gratitude. What does that mean? Like, what does that mean? Like, and why would you do it? So it's making it yours and making emotion. But also the key thing is once you've done it, it's constantly revisiting it. So every like I've gradually ended up with it framed on my desk. So if I look to my left, it's always there to remind me. But it's also say on a Sunday night, it's like, or a Monday morning, when you're looking at your diary for your week, does it align? Does it reflect your priorities, i.e., your values? And if it's not, what can you change to make it? So it's making it real, it's making it living. But it's just taking time, and it's simple but not easy, because you got to sit with yourself a little while for doing it. But it's so worth doing it, and you don't have to come up. It's not coming up with the perfect list. It's like progress over perfection.
Yeah, I like it. I like what you said there about it's got to be your values and not someone else's values, because I think in our society we're sort of pushed these values. We're told that we should value family, or we're told that we should have gratitude, or we're told that we should have a growth mindset. And when we read these
Yeah.
words, we sort of go, "Oh, that's what I'm told. That's what I'm told to do. So I should choose that, or that should become my value because that's what society expects of me." But in a sense, you have to go a lot deeper than that and really connect with the value and say, well, how does that show up in my everyday life? Am I living that value? Does that value actually resonate with me? And it can be a really tough process to go through. I've done a lot of value exercises myself along the way, and some of them I think are fantastic, and others I think don't really get to the root of really finding the individual values or giving us the ability to, uncover what's truly important to us. And I think what you said there, like, the reflection piece, I think, we've got this ability now when we're in midlife, we're 40, 50, whatever years old. We've got a whole wealth of experience behind us. We've gone through so much in the journey to get to where we are now. And maybe that's why, at this point in life, we have that ability to sort of slow down and go, okay, what were those moments through my life that have brought me joy, have brought me excitement, have been the pivotal points that have transformed my life will transform me into the identity or who I am today. I think they're the most powerful ones to look at when you're doing your values is to map out,
Yeah.
these, maybe it's getting your first job, maybe it's meeting your partner, maybe it's running your first business, whatever it is. And really like, why was that a key turning point in my life? And what did I take away from that lesson? Did you find that some interesting sort of parts of your life when you reflected back on it, just thinking when you were doing this value sort of stuff, just thinking, wow, I didn't realize how important that was to me?
Yeah, it's a good question because it's like, and it sounds weird. It's like some of the toughest part of my life has shaped me. It's like I wouldn't have ended up where I am today. Because people say, well, you went through a struggle with anxiety and depression, would you change it? It sounds mad, right? But I wouldn't, because it's made me who I am today.
Mm.
And it's some of the struggles that kind of, I know it sounds a bit hard to say that, but if it doesn't break you, it'll make you, like. And I know I'm not a big fan of always the American ways of looking at things, but I do like it. They don't talk about breakdown; they talk about breakthrough. It is like if you come out that's like you are a different person. You're stronger. You're more resilient. You know yourself better. So yeah, some of the tougher times have actually helped shape it. But it's and the one thing, the growth mindset which you touched on, I love that, the growth versus the fixed mindset. But what does it mean to you? And to me, it's always means to me, it's like, because I was always think I need to get everything right, and if I work hard and figure it all out, I'll sort it all out and get it right and get the right job, make the right decision. And but the way I frame growth mindset is, to me, is to go for it, live life, try, fail, succeed, learn, and grow. So that gives me the permission, because who was it? Was it someone famous said once upon a time, it's not, I didn't fail, it's discovering the light bulb or whatever. I didn't fail 100 times. I learned 100 ways not to do it. So, and it's the simple thing is look at each day and each situation as a training exercise. That way you kind of drop the bar and you go in with the right attitude to learn. It's a lot. It's up. The one thing I've learned is the power of the mind. It's scary, but it's liberating. It's all in our head.
Yeah, definitely it is. And I think we're our own worst critics sometimes with all this sort of stuff, isn't
Totally, totally.
it? We put a lot of pressure on ourselves to be perfect. And I think that slows us down. It stops us from exploring. It stops us from evolving because we're so worried about failure. But yet failure is the best teacher. If we're
Yep.
not willing to fail, how are we willing to learn? And to go on this journey and to be able to explore that is just, it's transformational. And if you don't, like, what you started out with, if you don't change, if you don't do anything different, well, then nothing's going to change. We end up feeling stuck. We end up feeling disconnected. We end up just not feeling authentic or living a life that aligns with, the man we want to become. And it's a real shame because I think a lot of guys end up in that position. They keep ignoring it, ignoring that call, and just thinking that they'll push through. And when the kids leave home, I'll do it. When I retire, I'll do it. When this happens, I'll do it. Um, and then they get to a point where maybe they have a health crisis, or maybe they lose a loved one, or maybe they lose their job, or something. Whatever happens, and it's like you've got to this really low point before you've started to turn your life around and take this action. What would have happened if you could have done it before that? Like, the difference that it would have made. And I think it's a hard thing to break through, especially with men, because, just the way we are, or with the way we can be so stubborn and not be willing to, reach out for help in that sort of sense. Now that you've got your values, like, how is that? How do you feel that that's changed your life?
Well, it's in simple ways. In a way, it's like, for example, taking the self-care um, to enable me to live life with full energy and vitality each day. I said I had challenges with mental health, but I kept pushing myself and going back into the same game. So now I've so with self-care, it's reminded me like a physical and mental health are really important. It's like, it used to be funny, like my grandmother used to say to me when you're growing up, so long as you've got your health, and I think, yeah, whatever, like, yeah. But it's just some of the stuff that people said to you, like with older people, it's like makes total sense now. So I have a routine each day. My morning routine is very much geared to get me in the right space mentally and physically. So I'll get up, cold shower, meditate, some mindful yoga, journaling, and that. And I will get up early. I'll craft that time out in the day. So I'm a morning person. I like to get up before everybody's up in the house, because once the family are up, that kind of the day kind of is taken over and it's not yours anymore. But it's finding that time in the day that you can carve out some time for yourself, because self-care is not selfish. And I love the analogy. It's like saying that the way it is when you're on a flight and they say, if the oxygen mass drop, look after yourself before anybody else. And it's so true. If you're not in a good place, you're going to be no good for your friends, for your family, for anybody. You need to look after yourself. But it's also like one of my values is connection. And that's like about being present in my life, for my life, and also being present in my interactions with others. It's like, do you ever know, it's like, it's that being present, the gift that we can give to actually listen to somebody. I was terrible for, and my wife was always good for pulling me up on it. Like, she said, like, I just want you to listen. Where I think it's a male thing where it's like, she come on, I had this crap day at work, and I said, why didn't you try this? Why didn't you try that? I'm not looking for you to fix me. I just want you to listen. So it's like, but it has changed, and it's just the most powerful part of the change is being, you need to become aware first, because unless you're aware, you can't change. And aware, first for me, is awareness of what's happening. The second is acceptance. And acceptance isn't giving up or resignation or that. It's just, you have to accept, this is where I'm at now. Oh, now I can change, or I can change a different direction. So it's ways like that. So it's like, but you're just making it part of your daily life. And that's why I remind myself of them every morning.
Yep, yep. I like the sound of that morning routine. That's you get, creating that space for that self care, and it's aligning with your values, and you can see how it's not only helping you and serving you, but it's obviously serving the people around you. So you can show up as the best version of yourself, for your clients, but also, for the people you are connecting with, and that's
Yeah.
another value. It's like that connection. It's interesting how values sort of can relate to each other, and we can see, those values supporting each other, and when we align them, the energy that it gives us and the focus that it gives us. How is your anxiety and mental health now, do you feel, now that you've gone through a process like this? Did you feel changes when you did this sort of stuff?
Yeah, I feel, it sounds weird, it's a strange. I feel for the last few years since I've done this work, I feel comfortable in my skin, more content and at peace. Now that sounds a bit weird maybe, but just being in that comfort, because it's not like I wake up every day and I'm singing from the rooftops of that. Like, you still get out, but it's again, I don't disappear in, because before, what used to get me the anxiety or the stress or the depression was like, I'd get into my head and I'd have to figure it out. And I realized you don't have to. A thought is just a thought. It's just a thought. You don't have to engage with it. It's like, it sounds like, but it's like, I learned as well. It's like a thought is like a cloud in the sky. You can let it. You can grab hold of it, or you can let it drift on through, and you don't have to engage with it. And that's powerful, because I always used to think, if you have a thought, you need to figure it out, and they've had to come up with a solution. That, nah, let it go. And it's just focus on the positive thing. And I will use different tools as well. If I feel a bit off of that, I got powerful meditation or mantras or affirmations that I tap into as well. It's like, it's interesting, we'll go to the gym, we do physical exercise, but the training of the mind is just as important, because we don't, and it's kind of ignored a lot. Like, and mindfulness is really good for us, training the mind to be present in the moment, not for what you hoped it would be, not what you expect, but what's actually happening in the moment. And it's not all happy clappy, it's being present for the tough times too.
Yeah, exactly. It's a very valid point that you make. I mean, we can uncover our values and we can try to align our lives with those said values, but it doesn't mean every day is perfect. It doesn't mean we're living in a perfect world, but I think we're navigating life with more awareness and with more intention. So it helps us to be more aligned, and it helps us to generate more joy and freedom in our life, or whatever it is that we're aiming to achieve. I like that you point out mindfulness as a good tool. I think that works for some people, and it sounds like it's worked great for you. My mindfulness personally, like when I'm training, when I'm actually exercising, I find that that's my place of peace. And whether it's doing handstands or it's doing flexibility or it's lifting weights, in a way, I find that nearly like meditation. I don't know what it is, but I
Yes.
find I'm in my body. Like I'm feeling what I'm doing when I'm doing handstands or when I'm doing certain movements. So it's just this awareness of presence from training, and I find that really worked well for me. Whereas when I sit down and try to meditate, for me, I just find that a race. I'm still busy thinking about other stuff, but yeah, the physical stuff seems to work well for me. I'm starting journaling now. Like I like journaling as well, and doing more writing. But yeah, there's lots of different tools that obviously we can start to learn to tap into. And I wish I'd had more of those tools, or I'd explored more of those tools in my younger years. But now, obviously, they're coming in. But I think it's something that we might scoff at, and a lot of guys might scoff at, journaling or meditation, all these sort of things. But I don't think we can knock it till we try it. It's that growth mindset again, isn't it? Like, what could work for us? What are we willing to step into? What are we willing to try? Because you never know, what sort of shifts that might generate for you, and creating that space like you've got in the morning to, have that self-care or that self-love, just continues to flow, through the rest of your day, doesn't it?
But it's interesting what you said, and I love it. That word that you use, intention. And that is so powerful, because that's what I think is living. And I say to anybody, live a life of intention. Don't go through it on automatic pilot. Stop and figure out what you want to do. Make conscious decisions. But it's also, you said, everything doesn't work. So the mindfulness doesn't work for you, but it's the meditation. But that's what I say. You try different things. Everything won't work for you, but you figure out what the tools are doing. You build your toolbox on that. But it's interesting what you say about mindfulness and the meditation, because yeah, sitting still or just focusing on the breath. Yeah, the mind does that, but it's not about getting zen like calm or infinite, because the mind, that's our minds are built to jump around the place. The beauty of it is every time you notice the mind has wandered, you're actually being present again, you're in the moment, and you just keep bringing it back. But mindfulness, as I said, it's not just about sitting meditating, it's about bringing it to your everyday life. And it's like you said, when you're working out, that's it. But some people work out in their own automatic pilot. They mightn't even remember working out afterwards. It's like being there, being present for the workout. It's brushing your teeth in the morning, being aware of the taste of the toothpick. That's mindful. You're being present again in your life.
Yeah, it's a good point that you make. It's just about that being presence, isn't it? And just being aware
Yeah.
of what's going on around you, and not just being stuck on autopilot or default mode, going through the motions. I think it's an easy trap that we can fall into, and I think
And
awareness is where it's going to start.
people ask me, right, like, what do you mean, like, you've been automatic pilot? And that, the way I give an example, I said, do you drive? And have you ever driven from A to B and wondered how you've got there? That's automatic pilot.
Yeah. It just flows, doesn't it? You lose track of time really, but it's just like, what have I
Yes.
just been doing for the last however
Yeah,
many hours? But
exactly.
you're not living in the moment. We've touched on values, and I think we've talked a bit about values. From values, is vision, purpose. Where do you usually go with your clients? What's the next step?
It's work at tapping into the purpose, like, because you've got your values. So it's like your purpose. What contribution do you want to make in life? And people get caught up in this because they think it has to be something big, save the world. It doesn't. It's what do you want to, what what impact do you want to make in the world, like, or what contribution you want to make? It can be something small, it can be big, like I want a world peace. You can aim for it, your purpose. But it's also, it's like, I want to be, my purpose is to be the best dad that I can be, or to help my children go into well-rounded, confident young adults. It can be anything at all. Like, your purpose can be, like, it turned out my purpose is like, I and it took me a while to wrap into it, to empower people, but it's like, thing is to think of what impact you want to make, how you're going to do it through, and what it looks like. But it's sitting with it a while, and we go through a number of different exercises. Again, we map out people's timeline, and we reflect back on the timeline and key moments and pivotal moments in their life, and what were you doing then that really buzzed you, and is there something back when you were a child that you always wanted to be? It doesn't mean that it was wrong or because you want to be as a child. Maybe it's tapping to something there, or it's at different stages of your life. Okay, when you were doing that job, what was it about it? When you were at university, when you were with that person, what contribution were you making? Or, and then so there's a number of different exercises again, and quite a lot of the coaching is about reflection, because as you know yourself as a coach, your job is not to give the answers, to tell the people what to do, is to create and hold that space. So they have that's what I love about it. Everyone has the answers within themselves.
Yeah, it's a tricky thing, isn't it? I think people sign up for a coach because sometimes they think they want to be told what to do. But the
Yeah.
research shows that that doesn't work. We don't want to be told what to do. We just want people to be there to actually hold space, to listen to us, to ask those powerful questions, and to allow us to navigate the way forward. And it's probably stuff that we've never stopped to think about. You know, we talked about this before. We can get so caught up in the grind, in the hustle, in achieving success, money, power, whatever it is that we're doing in our younger years, climbing the corporate ladder, that we just fail to step back, take a breath, and think where it's all going and do that inner work that's just so powerful and so transformative. And that's what coaching is. It's about creating that space and giving people, you know, that opportunity to slow down and put in that work. What would you say your purpose is now? It's empowering people. Is that what you said, Mike?
It's empower people. It's again for me. It's to empower people, and that I put in brackets, including myself, through my coaching and mindfulness to be the best version of themselves.
Very awesome. Why did you add in brackets myself? Where did that come from?
Because it's like to empower people. Because I said it's not. I'm not just doing it. It's actually when I practice coaching and mindfulness, I get so much out of myself. When I run a mindfulness session or that, I'm not telling you how to be mindful. I'm sharing
Mm.
my practice, so I'm getting the benefit of it as well. And it's like to me, it's always that growth mindset. Always you touched on earlier your love of learning or my love of learning. I love it. It's just expanding. It's like there's no end game in terms of where you get there and you've done it. I love exploring stuff. I'm started reading into now about neuroscience and neuroplasticity. I just think it's so powerful. It's just all so much. I love learning, and it's like coming to that gives me my buzz each day. But it's like self because I'm growing and learning as well and empowering myself. And mindfulness and coaching has really helped me get there and that.
Yeah, awesome. The only reason I ask is like I think for a long time health was right up there as my number one value. It's changed now. I've reassessed my values, and health is still an important value, but it was sort of number one for a little while. And I think what led me on the journey of going into personal training and owning a gym and, you know, doing everything I was doing with my health is what sort of inspired me to dig deeper into coaching to help other people with their health. So part of it was a bit selfish. Like I'm hungry to learn about health for myself because I want to get healthy and I value my health. But it also aligns with, hey, I get to teach other people about health as well. So I'm living something that I'm passionate about. It gives me purpose and it gives me drive. But a little piece of me was just like, I'm actually doing a lot of this for myself because I'm just so curious and I want to learn more about it and dive deep into it. So when I heard you say empower people, self included, I was like, that's a very interesting, interesting point.
Yeah. But it's true what you say, it's right, because again, but it's like that's you've landed on a lucky spotlight because you find something you're passionate about and you need to make a living, but you'd quite happily, if I could afford it, I'd do it without getting paid because I just get a buzz out of it. It's not, I don't see it as a job. Do you know what I
Mm.
mean? Like,
Yeah, it's funny you bring that up too because I used to work corporate and I spent many years working the corporate job. And it got to the point where I'd go to work each day and I'd sit in an office and think, is this it? Is this it? Is this my life? Am I going
yeah,
to sit in front of a computer and be in an office for the rest of my life? And it wasn't that I hated it. I was good at it. I enjoyed it. I, you know, climbed the corporate ladder and, you know, I was earning good money. But I'd leave work every day just sort of thinking, I've just made a big business more money. Like, how does that, what's that legacy or what's that, how's that fulfilling? But I'd also just see other people in the office that are just stressed, tired, unhealthy, not living their best life, like just grinding away at work. Okay, they don't hate life, but they're just not getting a lot out of it. And I just thought, well, if I stay in the office, that's where I'm going to be. I'm going to be that guy that's been here for 40 years who just is grumpy and rocks up every day and seems to be hating what he's doing. Or I've got to get out of this and I've got to find something else that aligns. And that's when I quit and became a personal trainer. And a lot of my mates thought I was crazy. But
yeah,
to me, I was like, well, I've got to give this a crack. Like, what's the worst thing that could possibly happen? Like, okay, I try it for 12 months and it doesn't work out. I can go back to my corporate job. I can get another corporate job. I ain't going to really lose much, but I'm going to explore this and see where it takes me. Yeah, and like within 4 years of being a PT, I owned my own gym and it just grew from there. So I think it's that leap of faith, isn't it? Sometimes we just have to have the courage um, to take that leap of faith and be willing to try something different, to break free of the status quo, let's say.
yeah, no, it's so true. That leap, and again, going back to the values, give you that foundation to work on. Because some days I kind of think, oh my God, what am I doing? Like, where's it going? Like, but I look at my value. That's the life I want to live because it's beautiful. You get one life, that's it. And there's a line by an American poet which I love. It's like, what do you plan to do with this one wild and precious life? You only get one. It's not a training run. You're not going to go around again unless you believe in reincarnation. So it's like, but it's again. we get sometimes work gets a bad press because we talk about work-life balance. I don't actually agree with that
Mhm.
frame.
Yeah.
It's like I think about it's not about work. Work is part of life. It's not something separate to life, and it can be really beneficial and really rewarding. So I talk about life balance, and my life balance will be different to you, and that's why the wheel of life is so important. It's like the important areas of your life. So it's health, it's family, it's friends, it's work, it's whatever, and you everything will be different. And just go if you do if a person maps that out and scores it for each area of their life, how satisfied are you on a scale of 1 to 10? You figure out the areas where you're not given enough time, because we have a limited number of time in our days, in our lives, and it's like it's about it's the same as in the corporate space. It's about prioritization, and we no one's going to tell you what to do. You got to figure it out yourself.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not a big fan of the whole work-life balance thing either. I think it's about alignment. Like when we talk about alignment, if you're doing a job that aligns with your values and aligns with your purpose, well, then it doesn't really feel like a job, does it? It's something that we enjoy. We wake up every day looking forward to the work that we're about to do. So it's not about work and life. It's still about it's about life. And like you say, work is a part of life. So it's really about that alignment. Something came up for me then when you were talking, and I'm just what I was going to say is I think sometimes, and agree with me or disagree with me, I think with men, we really attach our identity ourselves with it could be work or it could be training or it could be family, but we really build this identity around maybe one of those things. So, like, work becomes a safe place. I go to work because it gives me this sense of purpose, it gives me this sense of achievement and of accomplishment. I don't really love it, but it's nearly becomes a place to hide. I feel comfortable at work. So I go there and I do that, but I don't question my relationships. I don't question my values. I don't question my freedom. I don't question my legacy. All of that I try to ignore. I put it in a little black box and I just fill my life with work because it's a safe place. What do you think of that?
I think it's a really good point, because I think it's also, and I think it's a lot of conditioning that we've been instilled over the years. It's like, get the job, work, that's your job, your provider. Yeah, and if your family says, I'm not seeing enough of your wife says, I want to spend more time. Yeah, but I need to work. I need to keep the job. I need to be there. Like, and it's like what I found looking back, I was giving more and more. Work was getting the best of me.
Mm,
And it wasn't just in terms of hours, but in terms of energy as well. So I didn't have much left. I was tired when I wanted to chill. I didn't want to do stuff. Want to be. So it's conditioning, and it is kind of a go-to place, because the other route is you got to stop and do the inner work. You got to look at yourself and figure out. It's a little bit hard initially. It might be seem a bit harder, but it's doing that work. It'll open the door to a much more rewarding life, because otherwise, and it sounds hard, but you can work and work and work and work, and you can give it all to work. But the harsh reality of it, if your face doesn't fit anymore, that work will let you go. And you might think, but it can't survive. No one, but one thing I learned over the years, no one is indispensable. You don't turn up the next day, life will go on at work.
yeah,
So
exactly.
figuring out what you want is important.
Yeah. See, I found that with training. Training was my place to hide. Training was my peace of mind. It gave me the sense of accomplishment, achievement. I put all my energy into training. I'd make any excuse so that I could go and train because it was my safe place. But I was ignoring connection, relationships. I was ignoring the burnout that it was causing, the health issues it was causing because I was so overcommitted into training, and training became a big part of my identity. But learning to let go of that and learning to step back from that is really challenging because we've got this inner belief system that tells us this is who we are and this is what we have to do. So I'm curious, like when you come across this maybe with yourself or with clients who have got this sort of like belief system, how do we work to like recondition that or rewire that belief, do you feel?
It's really interesting point, because that whole belief thing is really powerful, and where it's like looking at what's the belief that's driving that? What benefit is it bringing you? What cost is it costing you in terms of that? So it's getting there. You can't tell them, and you can't uh, advise them to do something different, but it's to explore it. And they may find at the end of the day it's really worthwhile for them, but it's to drive it, because sometimes we do stuff and we're driven by beliefs that we've learned at a young age, we've learned from our parents, we've learned from school, we've learned from whatever. We don't stop and question them. And it's just simply that whole thing is like simply stopping and question. What are you getting it? What benefit does it make? What benefits does that belief bring into your life? What would it change if you stopped having that belief and you had a different belief? So it's just getting them to look at, because at the end of the day, the client or the person or yourself, you'll make the decision, but it's like that whole thing. It's an unexamined life. Examine your life. Look at what the decision and make conscious decisions. Don't do it. Don't turn up for plow yourself into training automatically. You don't even think about it. If you just stop and think, it's like, yeah, I want to train so much. Well, this is what's costing me. Okay, but I'm happy to do that. But it's that conscious decision.
Yeah, I like it. I like the switch around what's it costing you, because I think, you know, in midlife we have a lot of responsibilities, and that stuff ain't going to go away. But we also have a limit on the terms of the energy and time, the capacity that we have, and where are we putting that energy and time? And if I'm overcommitting to training and I'm putting all my energy and time into training, well, then that's got to sacrifice something else. And if that's connection with my mates, it's connection with my partner, it's connection with my daughter. Is that really what I want to be doing? Am I sacrificing that for training because it's so ingrained in me? Not to say I'll give up training. I've just managed to do less training and make my training more, what's the word I'm looking for? It's more, just more focused, or it's more intentional itself. Like, I could spend a lot more time doing training, a lot more time stretching, a lot more time doing handstands, a lot more time doing other stuff. But it's like, well, where is that getting me? Like, fast forward 10 years from now, what's the handstand going to do for me then? Like, whereas
Yeah,
like, it's again, then we fast forward 10 years and we look back, well, what about those first 10 years with my daughter? And if I didn't spend time with her, what am I missing out on? Am I going to regret that I didn't train handstands, or am I going to regret that I didn't spend more time with my daughter? And it puts it in perspective, I think, when you can sort of sit back and think about the bigger picture, and start to challenge those beliefs, in that sort of context. But it's a hard thing to let go of. Have you found that? Like, have you
but
found, was there a,
it's stopping though. It's stop and think, because if you automatically keep on doing it, you'll never stop and think. It's questioning and that, and it's like it's getting that, going back to that balanced life. And the balanced life will be different to you, to me, to everybody else. But it's working out what's right for you, and that's where the values come in as well. What's important? Figuring out what's important in life. Otherwise, you'll be pulled and torn by whoever, somebody else's agenda.
yeah,
And
that's
it's
it,
like
isn't it?
work will automatically take over, because work will take more and more of you. You got, and it's not wrong, it's not right, but it's like you make the decision.
Yeah, it gives you that power to say no, doesn't it? Like, if it's not aligning with the values, and it's a word you've got to get better at saying, it's like, no, you know what? That's not who I am, or it's not going to move me closer to who I want to be. So that's a no, or this is a yes, which is really, really great. We've talked about values. We've talked about purpose. Vision is the next thing. Yeah.
Yeah, the vision is like, in terms of saying, given your values and your purpose. And you can look at a vision at over any time period you want, because vision changes. It's not like fixed, and as you move towards it, it may change and move in a different direction. But it's, how does that ideal life look like for you when you're living your values line life, looking at going for your purpose? And one exercise, and I think you kind of touched upon it, what I do with clients as well, and that is like, it's the armchair exercise, that you sit there, you're reflecting, you're a happy, healthy 80 or 90-year-old, you're looking back on your life. Who's in your life? What brought you pleasure? What brought you happiness? And that, when you reflect back, and it's to reflect back. So it's like looking, going ahead and looking back is a real powerful tool to look at and say, like, what did you bring to your life, and what kind of life did you want to live? And very rarely will anybody say, I wish I spent more time at work in my life. Like, so, and it can be, the vision can be, again, it can be big or small or whatever, but to me it's like living that, and it's a really key word, it's to live in a spacious, joyful life, um when you're enabling other people to grow and thrive through deep connection and presence. And for me, it's key to do it. One thing is, I can do that from anywhere in the world, because my ultimate aim would be, I live in the UK, so it's pretty miserable in January and February. And I want to be able to live in the sunshine and be able to do my work from the sunshine. But it's that, what does that ideal life look like for you? And it'll change as it move forward. But it's just having that image, like, and it does it reflect your values and your purpose when you look at it like that?
Yeah. Well said. Yeah. I think it's that 20,000 foot view, isn't it? It's nice to have that sort of vision and idea of where you want to get to, but it's not it doesn't have to be very specific. Like, this is my day, this is my structure, this is everything I tick off. It's just like, this is the North Star, or this is the direction, where I see myself in 10 years. That vision allows you then to be guided by that North Star. Again, to be able to make valuable sort of decisions in your life when opportunities come up, because in our world today, we're blessed. There are so many opportunities knocking at our door that, we can take so many different careers, so many different jobs, live in so many different countries, do all this great stuff. But what do you say yes to? What do you say no to? Like, it just becomes overwhelming when we try to do everything. And yeah, without vision, I think it becomes quite difficult. And I think even with vision, it's still hard to navigate, what the right and wrong decisions are. But yeah, it hopefully does give you some sort of clarity there. Um, what have you found since you've sort of set vision? How has it managed to change your trajectory or where you're heading, Mike?
Well, it's slow. It sounds weird. I slow it down,
Yeah,
and that's the one thing, the mantra that I would say is like, it's like you have only a certain amount of hours in the day and that. And what I used to find, I used to have a to-do list, but my to-do list was no way achieved, but I feel better having it on a to-do list, but I feel better. But I never achieved that during the day. So I was putting less in the diary during the day. It's making time for, like, connection is an important value for me. So it's like now my son is off on school holidays. Before, I so many summers that I went that I thought, I'm not going to work as many hours this summer. I'm going to get off early, going to spend some time with my kids and that. And it never happened. Work took over. Consciously now, I'll make time in the day to go play tennis, play golf, go swimming or stuff like that. And it's beautiful, but it's like that's making a conscious decision in that. So it's nothing major or powerful. Well, it is powerful, but it's nothing big like changes in that. But it's making what's changed for me, keeping that vision and values in line, is where I spend my time, because that's my valuable resource, my valuable commodity. I will look at my diary, as I said, like at the start of the week, and I'll think connection is a value for me. It's about making connection, enable people to thrive and go. And look at my diary. Am I seeing anybody this week, or am I just too focused on building the business? Because that's the danger. It's not just working for somebody else. You start your own business, you can get sucked into that and you can spend even longer. That defeats the whole purpose again. You're just doing it over again in a different way. So to me, it's like looking like that. And I will try and make some time to meet a mate for a coffee or a drink or something like that, or just go for a walk or something like that. Get out in nature. I try and get out every morning. Lucky enough, I've got a dog, so it gets me out in the morning. Like, but it's just that giving yourself some time, like it's bringing that balance, and you know it when you start taking time out of it. You start to say, "I'm feeling a bit off. What's up? Ah, okay, I haven't done X, Y, or Z today."
yeah. I think that's a great realization to have, isn't it? It's like just being able to slow down and look at that. We say that family is our value, or connection is our value, or these things are our value. But then you go, okay, well, let's look at your schedule. Show me that calendar.
Yeah.
Where is that value showing up in your week? Or are you just grinding at work and continuing to live the same life because you're not aligning it with what you say are your values? And I think it gives you permission to create that space. Like, I don't know about you, but in the past, before I sort of did the work and connected with my values and gave myself that space, I would be just impatient, or I would be in a rush. Like if I would create time to spend with a mate, or I would create time to spend with my partner, yeah, it would be there. But in the back of my head, I'm still thinking about work. There's still stuff going on because I just didn't take my foot off the gas, or I didn't give myself, that freedom to sort of think, you know what, I don't need to be sitting at the desk all day. I don't need to be doing this. I need to be present. I need to be here. I need to make sure that I'm creating time and allowing myself to have that space. Have you found that as well now? Like when you go and you spend time with your son, do you find that you can just be a lot calmer?
Yeah, I'm a lot more in the moment, present. And that's again, which is why I like mindfulness, because it trains you to be present in the moment. And a lot of the time, yeah, I totally resonate with what you're saying. It's like, yeah, I'd be spending time with my family, but I was thinking about work or what's coming up next, or I'm with my family and I got to see a mate later on, trying to fit too much in. And it's, you're not present. It's kind of token gesture, and it's more powerful when present. And kids know when you're present. I remember my son, when he was younger, playing Lego, and I'd be there with him, and that, but I'd be thought I was paying attention, but I was like thinking about work or that. And he said, "Dad, you're not here. You're not looking. You're not here." And it's so true. Like, I think, you nail me, mate.
Yeah, yeah. My daughter's like, put the phone down, Dad. Put the phone down, Dad. So if I'm just checking emails or I'm doing stuff, she knows that I'm not there. And she's put the phone down, Dad. I'm like, yep, okay, let's get rid of that. Let's do what you want to do. What are we doing? But yeah,
A
they
brilliant,
can
it's a
hold you
brilliant tip.
accountable.
There's a brilliant tip. One of the tips that reminds me of being mindful during the day. One thing is when you come home from work or that, put your phone in a drawer for an hour or two and see how it goes. It's a tough one. It's a real tough one, but it's good. Like, and it's getting out, and it gives you do other stuff. You are more present when you do it, but it's hard because it's like it's so easy to just scroll on the phone and get distracted on that, and time just disappears.
Yeah, that's just it, mate. There are so many distractions in our world today, and it's just in your pocket, and it's right there, and it can take your full focus and your full presence away from what's important. And I think so many of us waste a lot of time. We make excuses that we don't have enough time, and it's like, okay, let's open your phone and let's look at your screen time. Where is that time going? I think the time that like that excuse if I don't have enough time, it's bullshit, to be honest. I think for a lot of people,
It's
and we just don't.
totally It's totally, there's a good saying, it's like, and I love that I read it somewhere, it's not a lack of time, it's a lack of priorities.
Yes. Yeah, I agree with that. Exactly. It's about getting your ducks in a row, isn't it?
Yeah, totally.
Uh, so values, purpose, vision. If we sit down and we do that work, and it's challenging work. Like there's a lot of inner soul searching to really connect and find that. Um, how do we put that into action, or how have you found once you do that? Because when we sit there and we're doing it and we're answering all these questions, we can uncover a lot and we can write it all down, and we've got all this here. But then how do I take that and how do I put that into action?
That's the key point, because you can do all that work, but the real beauty, the real magic happens when you start to turn it into action, into plans. And but the work you've done, because you've got the values, vision, and purpose it's outlined, is identifying the wheel of life. Then I don't know if you've ever come across it, like where you identify
Yeah.
the segments of life that are important to you. So for example, it could be family, friends, I've touched upon earlier, work, self-development, self-care, whatever is important to you, and identifying, scoring on a scale of 1 to 10 out of the wheel. How satisfied are with where you are at that stage in your life with that? How aligned is it with your values, etc.? And then it's like you might pick one area, and it's like, and you go through each of the areas, but you pick one area, say for example, family, and you identify what's your goal with your family, to be there fully with them, to be spending 10% of my time a week or whatever it is that goal is with your family. Then you look at the current reality. Where am I at now with that? How am I lining up with that? And then what are the options you can do? What exploring what you'll do in terms of that? And then what's your way forward? What's your plan for that in terms of doing? And it doesn't have to be anything major, but just setting yourself some small goals. And what are you going to do if you're working with a client? It'll be like, and we work on that for 1 week, and it's like saying, okay, so what are you going to do? And this is interesting when you say, because they'll go through that and then say, okay, so that's what you want to do. What are you going to do in the next 24 hours? What are you going to do in the next? And that's where it's like, and it's like you got to take action in terms of that. But it's everything like that. You can identify that for each of the areas of your life, but you're not going to do them all at once. Again, otherwise you're too overloaded. But you identify again, what's the priority for me at the moment? Well, the priority is to sort out my relationship with my family. Okay, that's where I'm going to put my focus on. But again, it's a conscious decision where you're going to shift your attention. But the vision, the purpose, and the values is really powerful, but it's turning it into action as well.
Yeah, I think that's the step a lot of us miss. Like we can go and we can do all this hard work and uncover a lot, but then we actually have to change. And that can be the very tricky part. I like what you said there about small goals. It's like really just trying to tap into, okay, you've got a lot on. There's a lot of responsibilities and it's not going to be an easy journey to change, but what's the first step or what's the first action we can take?
Yeah,
And being able to sort of just put little things into play and allow that success to start to turn over. It's like I often like to ask clients, like on a confidence scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you that you're going to be able to nail this goal? And if it's not an eight
yeah,
out of 8 out of 10 or higher, then I'm like, well, this goal is too much for you right now. Let's bring it back. Let's shrink the change, or let's make it easier, because it's about creating momentum. It's not about creating perfection. It's about just getting some progress and starting to get things moving. So yeah, that small goal, bringing in those small goals, and then also having that accountability. Like I think we can easily sometimes not be able to hold ourselves accountable, but when we speak up and we tell other people about what we're trying to achieve and what we want to accomplish, whether that's our coach or whether that's our partner, whether that's one of our mates, all of a sudden someone else is there to hold us accountable, which can make a big
yeah.
difference.
That is so powerful. That is so powerful. That accountability. Otherwise, you can say it and you see in your head, but you're not doing anything. But you don't have to. You're not accountable to anybody. But it's really important what you said about. I agree with you about the goal. You can set a goal, and just because you don't achieve the goal, it doesn't mean it's the wrong goal. But it's maybe you need to lower the size a bit, like set it smaller, and celebrate each success that you get as well. Like don't just tick it off. Like just really acknowledge yourself for, yeah, I've done that. I've done X, Y, and Z this week.
Yeah, it's a
And the
powerful
key
thing,
thing
isn't
is
it?
like, don't beat yourself up about if it doesn't work out, because it takes time to change. There's a brilliant, I don't know if you've ever heard the reading autobiography in 5 short chapters about change.
No, I can't say I've read that one either. No.
I'll send it to you straight. It's beautiful, really. It really sums up change. But that's the whole thing. We want to change, and we want to change now. And it's like change takes time.
Yeah, it's that instant gratification, isn't it? And are we willing to put in that work? I like Atomic Habit. It's a really good book, and there's a lot of great detail in there about the small wins and celebrating those small wins because we're trying to change our behaviors and we're trying to ingrain new habits. I'm not going to necessarily say better habits. There's not really good and bad habits. Again, it's aligning with our values, aligning with our purpose, aligning with our vision. If this habit is moving me closer to the man I want to become, then potentially that's a good habit. If this other habit, let's say drinking and partying and doing whatever, is taking me further away from the man I want to become, then potentially that's a bad habit. But it's depending again on the individual. There's no right or wrong, but you've got to be able to find a way to change belief systems, to change behaviors, to ingrain new habits. And that journey is tricky to navigate, especially if you're trying to do it all by yourself. And that's where coaching or accountability buddies can really be a game changer. Do you think?
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you because it's again, it's a misconception you said about coaching. Sometimes it's going to tell you what to do, but it's not so much telling you what to do, but it's like giving you that space so that you discover yourself what you do. But it's also that challenge that holds the mirror up to you and that accountability as well. And it's done objectively because yes, your mates and your friends can do it and your family, but they have some skin in the game as well. A coach is more objective. They will hold up and reflect that mirror. They don't have an agenda.
Yeah, exactly. I think a lot of men would roll their eyes at coaching and think, nah, that's not for me. I, I just think that that's one of the things that I struggle when we're trying to work, with clients and talk to them. I think a lot of them are like, oh no, I can figure this out by myself, or like, oh, I don't need a coach, this, that, the other. What would you say to those men who are feeling that or in that position? They know they're stuck. They know that there's something not really aligned. They're not getting the most out of their life. There must be more to life, but yet they won't invest in coaching.
I think it's like if you're hearing that message in your head that something's not right, something needs to change, or as they say, take time out, explore it, sit with it, try it. Yeah, by all means, see how it works on your own. But if it isn't working, why wouldn't you try it with someone else? You get a personal trainer, you get it, you learn, you take coaches in other areas of your life. You attended university, you learn from other people and that type of thing. Try a coach, you've nothing to lose. It's like one guy that I work with said that senior leader, like he said, and he was a bit skeptical about it first, like, what is it? I can do this. I know what I need to do, but he wasn't doing it. It's one thing knowing what you need to do, but it's another thing doing it. And he said, yeah, coming towards the end, he said, what I've really valued most is knowing that I've got this hour every week with you, scheduled in with you. I can spend time thinking about what I want, reflecting, processing, and spending thinking about what I want and spending time about talk just about me. And it sounds selfish, but it's really powerful and that benefits everybody else. But I'd say to anyone who's thinking about what have you got to lose? Reach out to a coach, have an exploratory call or a chemistry call. It's free. They'll tell you how they work. You get a feel for it and you decide if it's for you. But just try it. The growth mindset again, try it, test it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think again the question is, what have you got to lose? Like, there's so much to gain potentially out of working with a coach that you might overlook, and we can try and do it ourselves, but it's often a lot slower journey, and we make a lot more mistakes. Not to say mistakes are bad; we learn a lot from that, but it
Yeah.
can definitely be more efficient if you've got someone to guide you and support you along the way. And I like what you said, about your executive. He's coming to you and he's creating that hour every week to sit down and work on what's important to him, creating that time and space for him to really sit back and think, well, where do I want to take my career? Where do I want to take my life? Where do I want to take XYZ? And like you say, we're just there to listen and support, create space. And it can be just life changing, like the realizations that we can get when we actually have the space to do that. And I think more men need more space. We're so busy and we're so wound up in everything that's going on, and it's having a huge effect on our mental health, on our emotional health. And we see that with the statistics around men's suicide, around men's health. And, something like coaching, like I say, it's not therapy. We're not here to ruminate on the past, but it is an opportunity to talk about the future. And it is an opportunity to have a vision, to set goals, and to have someone that's on your side to support you. And it can just make a really big difference. Mike, I've loved having this conversation with you. It's been great to sort of, resonate with another coach who's, on a very similar journey, doing the great work. Before we finish up, is there anything else that you want to touch on that we haven't covered today?
I was just to thank you, say I've totally enjoyed it. It's time has just flown by. It's just great just having that conversation, how it flows. But I would say to any man that's out there that has that niggling voice in his head, is this it? Is this enough? Or is there something needs to change? Don't ignore it. It doesn't mean you're broken. It doesn't mean you need to be fixed or that. It's just a sign that you're growing, a sign that you need to change something for the next phase of your life and embrace it. Midlife is powerful. It's not something negative or that. It's just another phase of life. And by stopping and intentionally and consciously making a decision of what you want to do with the next phase of your life, you'll be a much happier, fulfilled person.
Beautifully. Well said, mate. I totally agree with it. Learn to slow down, learn to put the brakes on, learn to ask those powerful questions, because it is just, midlife is that opportunity. It's like the second chapter, and it's like you're in control. You get to write that chapter, or hopefully you're in control. Hopefully you're not stuck on autopilot, as we talked about. And I think it's a great message, mate. If people want to find out more about you, Mike, and what you do, where can they get in touch? Where can they reach out?
Well, the best place to go is probably my website. You get an idea of what the program that I share with people, and it's MikeFlynn.coach. I'll send you some details if you want to put it up with the podcast when it goes out, and I'll send you my Instagram handle as well because I do post on that. Like,
Yeah, awesome, mate. I'll definitely put it in the show notes. That was Mike Flynn, and I really hope his story hit home for you the way it did for me. What stood out most was his reminder that midlife isn't a crisis, it's a crossroad. You can choose to keep drifting on autopilot, or you can stop. Get clear on your values and start building the next chapter with intention. And if you're ready to make that shift, I want to remind you about the Warrior to King framework we've been developing at Midlife Mavericks. It's for men who know something needs to change, who are done with just providing and pushing, and are ready to lead their lives with purpose, energy, and clarity. We're doing a beta launch in September, and I'm personally looking for a handful of men to be a part of it. If that sounds like you, then send me an email, stretch@tstmethod.com, and let's talk about what leading like a king could look like for you. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope to see you next time.